Infinite Undiscovery. It was December 2008. I had a drab office job that paid well, but bored me to tears. I would often sit at my desk daydreaming about the video games I enjoyed as a kid. I used to love RPGs, mostly JRPGs, and I noticed how I didn't play them anymore. I wondered why. I had a PlayStation 3 just for this reason. Oh wait, they're all on the Xbox 360? I don't think I would have expected that in a million years. Boom bam, Xbox 360, JRPGs, let's go. First one, Infinite Undiscovery. So here we are, you play as a character named Capel, a flute player who has been locked away because he looks very similar to a man named Sigmund.
You're a warrior, ain't you?
But I'm not a warrior, you see? I'm a flute player. Haven't you ever heard of Capel the Soother?
A woman named Aya comes to save you, also thinking you're Sigmund.
Lord Sigmund, it's me! I'm here to rescue you!
As they try to escape, they're rescued by the Force, a group of individuals led by Sigmund, the man Capel is constantly mistaken as. Seriously, the entire game this happens. Look how far I am in this review, and I've already brought up that Capel looks like Sigmund 3 fucking times.
What's this? It looks exactly like...
Lord Sigmund, right? Surprised me, too.
It's more than a mere resemblance.
The Force consists of Aya, a bitch.
Want to rest?
Just leave me alone.
You need to rest.
All of this is your fault.
My fault?
Yes, I fell down, I had to crawl into a dark place, I touched a cockroach, everything! This whole mess, it's all your fault!
Edward, an asshole.
Everything you do irritates me. You're completely incompetent, and yet you... I'll tolerate you for a while, but get out of this room right now. I don't even want to look at you.
Balbagon.
No!
Do you mind helping out? Thank you.
Eugene, the only person who's not a jerk on this team. Genma, a complete badass, and no, you never get him on your party. And of course, Sigmund, the real main character of this game. The story of this game is a rather simple one. There are these monolithic chains that connect the planet to the moon, holding the moon in place. This is where anyone with any knowledge of physics would go apeshit, but whatevs. Wherever there is a chain, there is death and destruction. Since death and destruction are bad things, the Force goes around breaking them. Spoilers right here, you'd probably think since the whole game is about smashing each chain, the usual JRPG thing to do is have a twist and be like, oh no, we really needed the chains all along. But no, actually what you see is what you get. The chains are bad and you're doing good by smashing them. It's that simple. Maybe I should give them props for giving me the unexpected twist of not having a twist. This game is pretty linear. You're given what appears to be a wide area to explore, but all your inquisitiveness will not pay off because you will either hit dead ends or find trade skill items that hardly matter because enemies drop them. Some dead ends only open up when you have advanced that far in the story, and sometimes they give you the lamest reason for why that boulder that was blocking you before is not blocking you anymore. In fact, I think sometimes they don't even give a reason at all, it's just the boulder's gone. I don't think being linear is always bad. In fact, I tend to enjoy games that have a little bit of linearness to them as opposed to free open worlds because they usually have a strong direction for the player and usually provide a stable foundation for which a strong story can stand on. And no, I'm not saying open worlds or sandbox games suck. I'm just saying being linear isn't a bad thing by default in every video game. Some games do it well, some don't. As for this game, it's, So eventually the team meets this man named Savio, who explains lunaglyphs. Lunaglyphs are essentially where the world's magic comes from. When you are born, you're given a lunaglyph. Depending on the lunar phase, the time that you get your lunaglyph is how powerful your lunaglyph is. Lunaglyphs give you all sorts of special powers and talents. People born under a new moon or an eclipse are called unblessed because they do not get a lunaglyph. What kind of power they get from the lunaglyph is also random. So some people get screwed over and they get abilities like being able to talk backwards, although they're still seen to be higher on the social ladder than the unblessed. For you see, unblessed are for some reason looked down upon and harassed by the people with lunaglyphs. Living as an unblessed is seen to be unnatural, even though lunaglyphs are essentially put into your body and isn't naturally something you come with. Also, we clearly see adults getting lunaglyphs, meaning you don't have to get your lunaglyph on the day that you were born. If that's the case, then why does the lunar phase matter? Why not just give everyone lunaglyphs when the moon is at its strongest? The Force continues going around cutting the chains to free the moon. Then mysteriously Sigmund tells Capel that he needs him to cut the chains. Sigmund can't do it anymore, and I don't know why that is exactly. Neither do I know why Capel can cut the chains, while no one else can. From what I can guess, it's either because he's an unblessed, or it's from his bloodline since the two are related. I think this because Sigmund gets a lunaglyph, and then the very next chain you come across, he cannot break it.
Did I really just do that?
Dearest Sigmund, you're still pushing yourself too hard.
Hey, Michelle. It's me, Capel.
But didn't you just cut the chain?
Eventually, the Force meets the Dreadlord, who you clearly can defeat except for when the game goes into cutscenes where he's far stronger than his actual in-game counterpart. The Dreadlord tries to kill Capel, but Sigmund sacrifices himself so that the one person who can cut chains can still survive. Despite this, the Force keeps on trucking. They dress Capel up like Sigmund and pretend it never happened.
The one who died today was merely the musician, Capel. Sigmund the Liberator is still here. We mustn't stop, even if it means deceiving the entire world.
They discover that the chains were created by the Dreadlord so that he can become BFFs with God. One by one, they destroy every chain except for the last one. The Dreadlord tells them it's too late. He finished the ritual to become a Super Saiyan. But that's okay. It doesn't matter that we were trying to prevent him from getting the ultimate power. We'll just kill him anyways. Gaining ultimate power plot? Worthless. The final chain is unbreakable from the world. It has to be broken from the moon. Oh no, what will we do? Hey look, we have a magic spell that allows us to walk up the chain and go to the moon.
Huh. What the hell?
On the moon, the Force meets God. God proposes that Capel can be his BFF instead, but Capel says, "Fuck that shit," and just kills him. But killing God has some serious consequences. All lunaglyphs go away, meaning the structure the whole world based its society on will be gone along with magic.
I'll use the power of my lunaglyph to... What? Why isn't it working?
Aristos, the high-class citizens of the world who sacrifice their emotions for a greater understanding of logic and gaining a higher power of their lunaglyph, fall into a 3-year sleep. Almost every single king and queen is an Aristo, mind you. Think of how great an effect that would have on the whole world. And the greatest sacrifice...
Everyone, let's use this chain to return to the surface at once!
Hey, what are you saying? We all came out here ready to die.
This chain has lost Varos's protection. We might be able to cut it from the surface, but we have to hurry!
Capel, you need to leave now too.
Leaders go into battle first, but they're always the last to leave. I'm remaining here. I have a job to do. I still have to smash the Onyx chain.
Huh? What do you mean?
That's ridiculous! I won't accept this! I'm not leaving you behind! Capel!
Holy shit, what an awesome ending. Usually games like this pussy out and have these take-or-backsies with their sacrifices, thinking that it's the thought that counts is good enough as a sacrifice with actual consequences. Oh, look, there's something after the credits. Looks like everyone is moving on and rebuilding the world without magic. Wait, why is Capel there? Is that Capel? What? There's no explanation of why he's off the moon, and he's just alive and well? Fucking take her backsies! This is what I'm talking about. Why is it so hard to have a real meaningful sacrifice in a JRPG? You know what? Look at Capel in Sigmund's armor. Doesn't he look like Adolf from Ys? That's pretty awesome, a 3D rendition of Adolf from Ys. Or he looks like a 3D Maxim from Lufia 2. No, actually, he looks like more like Maxim's descendant from Lufia, the original game, because of his messy hair. Wait a minute, Rico and Rucha are like Palom and Porum from Final Fantasy IV, twin child spellcasters. Huh. Also in Final Fantasy IV, the last stage took place on a rather breathtaking castle on the moon, and so does this game. Also, the main villain, the Dreadlord, is sort of reminiscent of the Dark Lord from the very first Mana game. The protagonists call themselves the Force, kind of reminds me of how the protagonists of Shining Force call themselves the Shining Force. I'm not sure if any of these things are intentional, or I'm just the only person who sees these similarities, but I'm gonna still appreciate. The voice acting is weird in this game. There's a mix of good voice actors and bad voice actors, but even the good voice actors are not on their A game. I really don't think it's the voice actor's fault as much as it's the script. Maybe it's because these mannerisms are normal for the culture this game comes from. Even the things they are doing don't make any sense to what they are saying, it just doesn't fit in context.
Capel, give us some warning before you do something like that again. What are you trying to do?
You worried?
Not at all.
And why?
Everyone else was worried.
Okay.
I'm not sure what went wrong, but I wouldn't put all the blame on the voices. But there are some voices that definitely need some blame.
We shall save the world together.
Also, Capel is voiced by Mordecai and Principal Ench. Fucking awesome. I think the dialogue from characters in actual gameplay and in combat are done better. Their individual personalities flourish more here than in the cutscenes, and they have a lot of things to say.
Don't you worry, Capel. I'll knock them down before you can run away.
I'll make something with lots of sugar in it. Let's fight! I'll win for sure!
They even speak when reaching certain areas or different points in the storyline. I wish more games did this instead of cutscenes.
We head to Fael next.
They even went out of their way to change everything Capel says in combat with his new voice when he has his mental breakdown.
Crescendo spike! Diminuendo dive!
Little details like that go a long way. Like most games with the Square Enix label, the music and graphics are magnificent. The game often has a beautiful display tucked away somewhere in the background. Just seeing the moon and the chains in the sky give off an epic vibe, especially when you start removing the chains yourself. Infinite Undiscovery definitely lacks being intuitive. Brace yourself, folks, I'm probably going to say the word intuitive quite a few times here. It explains everything gameplay related through countless splash tutorial pages, and gives you no other heads up on how to do a lot of the things this game expects you to do. In my personal opinion, tutorial pages are for designers who don't know how to intuitively teach their players through gameplay, or something you add extra with teaching your players through gameplay, not in replacement of it. For example, you can connect with Rico and use a taming spell to control monsters called Penguin Parade. How in the world was I supposed to know Penguin Parade was to tame enemies? What do you think of when you hear Penguin Parade? Taming enemies? I don't. The only way you can find out what it does is to navigate through menus that you have, at this point, no business in navigating to. In this cave, you come to these shrine doors where you're required to use the skill to bring a bat and a snake to the door to open it. I had no idea what Penguin Parade did, and the only hint I was given was a camera pan to Rico looking smug as all hell. I spent an hour trying to figure this door out before I hit up a walkthrough. Seriously, Infinite Undiscovery, can you just be a little more intuitive? You could have had it. Just make Rico at least say something. It could have been something vague like, I got this, like George Lopez or something, and it would have been known it wasn't the cameraman just trying to be artistic by panning away to the child, and it would somehow require him. Because of this lack of intuitive teaching, I missed out on an awesome game mechanic. You can connect with allies and use their skills and abilities within towns. Why is it so awesome? Well, some of the characters have special skills. For example, Vic can pick the locks of sealed treasures within the towns. Michelle is able to manipulate men with her sex appeal, and Rico can talk to animals. Just having Rico stand next to a dog or something that I have to get information out of to progress the game, with maybe a text prompt through dialogue with Rico, hinting me to connect with him within the first town that I got this ability, would have been all they needed to do instead of pulling me out of the whole gaming experience with a tutorial screen and having me miss out on this for almost the entire game. Hell, the whole reason I figured it out later was because of intuitive design. The first town you meet Vic in, he's next to a locked box. I was like, how the hell do you open locked boxes when you have no party members? If only Vic, standing right here, could somehow get to that nearby box. Well, let's try out the party connect buttons like as if I was in combat. Oh, it fucking works. Yay! Most party members you get have a trade skill where they can craft items from materials. This is the first time you get Edward. He's a swordsmith, and we're in the middle of a dungeon. Just experimenting around, I removed Capel's sword. By the way, what is this? Capel has no swords equipped. I guess they didn't want to animate punches. And I upgraded 4 swords ahead of what the in-game stores offered me. The time spent did not feel like a waste. It was both very rewarding and very satisfying. Unfortunately, that is only early game. The further I went into the game, the crafting provided less and less usefulness. I was just better off buying the items from stores. I heard you can make a profit by selling items you make, but grinding for experience or money is just unnecessary, and I really didn't want to waste my time. Also, if you don't use all the trades of each character, they will fall behind in levels, and that's the point where the trades become worthless. I'm not sure if craft leveling should have been a thing. Why not have the materials for endgame items only appear in the endgame, so that you don't have overpowered gear available to the player, but also not waste the player's time in doing unentertaining remedial busy work leveling up these crafts. The controls are kind of off, but they're bearable. I think they could have designed a more efficient use of the 10 buttons the Xbox 360 controller has. The combat is like a Dynasty Warriors game. You chain weak attacks and finish with a strong attack. Except there is only one combo you will ever do in this game. This one. The other combos sorta have a purpose. One of them knocks the enemy up for juggling, and the other one knocks them down. If you juggle an enemy, you gain a small bit of experience points for as long as you juggle them. And if you hit an enemy while they're on the ground, you gain back a small portion of health and magic points. Too bad they only stay down for a second, and then they become invincible until they stand up. The problem is that you also get special attacks that you equip like techs from the Tales of series. You can tack them onto the end of your strong attack, and they knock enemies up and down. So why wouldn't I want to do the full extra long high damage combo and then knock them up or down? And neither of the two work on bosses, which is the only time you would want to do a shorter combo into some sort of crowd controlling attack before they use their super moves on your party. But all that aside, as long as you're in range, Capel will slide in and start his combo, which helps get past the controls and has a great feeling to it. Even if you're doing the same single combo over and over for the entire game. Is this the action JRPG's equivalent to a turn-based JRPG's holding down X to win battles? This is where it really shows that they ran out of buttons on the controller. You have to draw and sheath your sword. The controls change whether the sword is drawn or not. What makes this a problem is that if you want to talk to someone, open a chest, open a door, or do anything that is not swing the fucking sword, you have to put it away yourself. Why is it that with a game made in 2008, I'm running into this problem when 10 years prior, The Legend of Zelda had it where if you talk to someone with your sword out, or opened a chest or a door, it would put it away for you and do what you wanted. It might seem like a tiny complaint, but this game looks for new ways to screw you over with this throughout the whole game. Look at this, I'm in the middle of a fucking Dynasty Warriors battle. What I need to do is make these catapults break this door. At first I thought they fired on their own, and that I had to protect them. I noticed they were doing jack shit, so I thought maybe in the midst of all this action, I had to cut the rope and release the stones. How awesome would that be? Oh, no. It's not that either. I broke it. Oh, in the middle of combat where there are archers, spearmen, and ogres throwing boulders who want me dead, you expect me to do this slow-ass animation of putting away my sword, which, by the way, makes all my party members put away their weapons, stopping them from fighting it back against anything that attacks them, so I can get control of one of these things and fire it myself. Nice. Fucking nice. Look at this asshole. He's trying to talk to the person in the cell. Oh, look. He found out he could play the flute by accident. Now he's trying to see if it actually does something. Yeah, that asshole's me. After you get used to the overly complicated controls, the game is very sporadic in its difficulty. The enemies in the next area always seem to be far stronger than the previous area, but they give far more experience, bringing you just right up to the level the game wants you to be. Then it becomes extremely time consuming to power level because the experience the next levels require are far more than the previous ones. Having these huge EXP requirement spikes and EXP gain spikes really make the game's leveling system transparent. It doesn't feel like I have any freedom in this area. It feels like it's in the game's control, and this should be so natural that the thought shouldn't have even crossed my mind. There's barely any challenge in regular combat because once you understand how it works, you can get through the next area very quickly by playing safe for a few encounters until you're at the correct level to start playing more freely in the area without fear of death. The bosses are another story. They have huge, unfair attacks that are impossible to block or dodge, and often will hit every party member for insane damage.
Sing Rhapsody!
The only way I've seen to beat these guys is to take a break from combat, running in circles, screaming for someone to heal, and when everyone's health is at full, I can care about damaging the boss again.
Could you treat them? Could you treat them? Could you treat them? Someone, please treat them! Could you treat them? Someone, please treat them! Could you treat them? Could you treat them? Someone, please treat them! Could you treat them? Could you treat them? Could you treat them? Someone, please treat them!
A walkthrough even told me that I should have at least 50 miracle potions, the item that revives fallen allies, or else I would lose. This is insane. Why can't skill be a factor? This is just raw stats, beating against raw stats, with skill having very little influence over the battle. Since the game isn't turn-based and is action-oriented, you would think it would be far less about stats and more about player skill. Growing as a player, getting better at the game is far more rewarding in my opinion than just having the game tell me that I'm better through a level up. Each of the dungeons have their own environmental assets and a few enemies with their own AI, making each part of the game unique amongst themselves, something I'm always glad to see in this genre. It's not much, but it does affect gameplay and makes me rethink my strategy for a few seconds before rushing in. Although the camera is a little bit lazy, so the whole game you will be manually controlling it. I wish it was a little bit more guided. This game has a lot of characters, but the developers definitely were not fair with letting them share the spotlight. Characters like Sigmund and Aya have their backgrounds explained in great detail. Then you have about 60% of the cast who basically get introduced then barely develop. Even Capel, the main character, isn't very expanded upon. I'm left assuming how Capel's life has been. The only thing explained about him is that, major spoils, he's Sigmund's child. After Sigmund's death, Capel dons his armor and takes up his mission. Capel has stated over and over that he's never wanted to do any of this, but now that Sigmund's gone, might as well be him? Well, they think the world still needs a hero like Sigmund, so they fake Capel's death and claim that Sigmund survived. I always loved the concept of donning the Master's mask, cape, and name in stories, but this game barely focuses on Capel and uses this as an excuse to give Sigmund a heroic death, but keep him alive through Capel. All we really know is that Capel is willing to go out of his way to save people, and that he might have been, I am assuming from the way he reacts to lunaglyphs, harassed growing up since he was an unblessed. Although he goes through a large personality shift for a short period of the game, blaming lunaglyphs for everything bad in the world. He doesn't even grow as a character really. He's trying to be himself and not Sigmund, but everyone mistakes him for Sigmund or forces him to be more like Sigmund before and after he actually dons Sigmund's armor. In the end, he learns to be himself. What the fuck do you think he was doing the whole time when you were forcing Sigmund down his throat? What's also a cheat the developers pulled was creating secondary characters. Secondary characters are such a crock of shit. These are characters you cannot have on your party. They can only be used within towns or anytime you enter a part of the game which allows you to make multiple parties, which NPCs control the other parties. I think it's somewhere around 6 times in the whole game this happens. These characters are so useless gameplay wise, but they get a ton of screen time. Why not just make them playable? I don't see what the problem is with having these characters playable. Did they want to avoid creating connect skills for every character? If so, that's just fucking lazy. Both Christopher and Serafina are characters introduced late in the game, and they're both secondary characters. Did they want the player to completely not care about these characters at all? Because I think there's only a single time you can actually use them in an NPC controlled party. Not to mention, Christopher looks like he would have been a very fun character. He's got a goddamn repeating crossbow.
Do my best!
Yeah!
Astro!
Let's see who's stronger.
Am I really stronger?
Infinite Undiscovery also introduces a few gameplay concepts late into the game, and they're barely used at all. They all basically stem from when Lunar Rain comes down during the last bit of the game. Lunar Rain powers up Lunaglyphs, giving party members status buffs, but if they get too much, they turn into Veriforms. As Veriforms, they attack everyone and anything, including you and your party members.
You know what to do. Come on! Until next time.
Please, look after yourself.
I'm not a baby. I'm a grown-up.
Wait here. Let's take them out.
Not yet. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
You'll pay for this.
Give me any order. I'm ready.
I'm not a baby. I'm a grown-up. Don't be rude.
My lord.
Veriforms also become regular enemies, but as regular enemies, Capel cannot hit them and his allies cannot see them. So what you need to do is play a song on the flute to reveal them to your party members to beat on. Actually, these guys are extremely easy. Just take Toma with you, reveal the enemy, link with Toma, and spam his connect skill. See? Dead in seconds, not even a threat. Toma is probably my favorite character in this game. His weapons are katanas, no big whoop there, but with each katana he equips a different mask that he wears, and that's fucking awesome. Also, if you spam the X button, he kills everything while barely using any NP at all. He's also an Aristo, and Aristos are able to absorb the power of Lunar Rain without becoming Veriforms. Kick ass. This forest is bullshit. Depending on what path you take, you are teleported to a different part of the map, often to where you came from. So through trial and error, you have to constantly fight through the same enemies, exploring the same level again and again until you find the right path. This is some lazy level design. Eventually, they give you little hard-to-see glowing orbs to guide you, but you don't have them until you already navigated through this place yourself at least once. In the end, if I were to grade this game, I would give it a 68 out of 100. I do suggest playing the game only if you're out of JRPGs to play, because it isn't bad, it's just far from my top choice. It does have something most media doesn't. The lead and the romantic interest actually have a real relationship that builds before they declare their love for each other. Most games and movies have their characters hook up mostly because they're the opposite gender and that's it. So it's refreshing to see that. Actually, the relationship with Capel and Edward is pretty genuine too.
I might make the same mistake again, but it would be an honor to fight alongside you.
If you do play this game, I have to warn you, the first level of this game is probably the hardest, because it throws a lot of things at you that you have to fight. You have to fight enemies that you're allowed to kill, enemies you're forced to run away from, inanimate objects, the tutorial pages, the fucking controls, the camera, the UI, the lighting, and the overwhelming discomfort. This game fills your soul with trying to purge its player base of anyone who has any standards or self-respect at all. But if you get past that, you're good to go. I actually quit playing this game when I first got it because of the first part, and by coincidence, one of my best friends before I met him bought an Xbox 360 because of this game and quit because of this part. That's fucking saying something. The dude bought a goddamn console for this game, and he couldn't pull himself to continue after that part. I originally picked this game because I thought it was going to be a horrible game that I could review and warn everyone to stay away from, but I was kind of pleasantly surprised. I'm very glad I came back to this game.
Dinner, 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 dinner.
You're not triplets!